I like your heart.
Thank you. It seemed like a good thing to wear today for our show.
Because we're talking about ailments of the heart.
Yeah.
Emotional ailments.
That's right. Yeah. Hi, Susan.
Hi, Megan.
Now, here's a question I have for you as we start into this show. Can a bottle of essential oils cure what ails you emotionally?
I think it can shift your state.
Yes.
Enough that you can be more clear-headed or more clear energetically to work on an issue. So yes, absolutely, they can create a different emotional state, and it may not be lasting. You might have to do work, counseling, therapy, healing, self-introspection, whatever you need to do. Forgiveness.
So really what we're looking at are tools that help support us on our journey to healing deep grief. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Yeah. So welcome everybody to Essentials Roundtable with myself, Megan Edge, my fabulous co-star, Susan Steele. And today we're going to be following up on our previous episode where we were talking about the grouping of oils known as the citrus oils and how they help with things like depression and mood balancing and elevating mood. This episode we're going to be moving into the flower oils or the floral oils, and we're going to be talking about our hearts and what happens when we have a broken heart.
Oh, we probably cry, mope around, feel dejected,
eat a lot of ice cream,
wretched, bereft.
There is really a physical component though. When your heart is broken,
absolutely,
your heart hurts.
It actually your whole chest will be aching.
Yes, it does. And people actually literally can die of a broken heart.
Absolutely. Animals can die from a broken heart.
Yeah. So what would you describe as being what is a broken heart? What causes a broken heart? What are the things that we encounter in our lives that create that kind of grief, that level of grief?
Well, if someone dies.
Yes.
Or if a relationship ends, or there's some kind of loss.
Yes.
That you're not able to let go.
Yeah.
In a way. Well, even if you let go, you can still have an aching loss of whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as we go through this human journey, our human life, we will encounter loss. We will encounter some loss that is fairly navigable and we can manage it. And then there will be those deep losses where we feel it physically in our bodies.
Well,
we feel it.
You think of losing your dad last year. That's a deep loss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very much so.
And children experience loss when their parents divorce or a pet dies.
Yeah.
Yeah. And using this kind of a remedy in a way can help keep the brain chemistry a little more balanced, I think, is what can happen. So that maybe you will fall into a deep hole, but I think this can be a support so you don't have to.
That's right.
I mean, I always think of a story that you tell of one of your clients with the jasmine oil, that you were doing an intuitive treatment and you smelled jasmine and mentioned it, and she loved jasmine and went to actually purchase it and has used it. I know this jasmine is amazing. I've never loved floral scents.
Yeah.
And I love these. And I realized when I got jasmine, it's because it's not a synthetic jasmine. It's actually a real jasmine oil. And I'd never smelled that because in our culture, companies that make body care products and perfumes have they have like a science department or a research department or a lab that creates a synthetic copy.
That's right.
Of these beautiful, natural, pure, potent essential oils.
Yeah.
I think that's my favorite.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So when you actually smell the real thing, it has a completely different impact on your brain and your body. It's almost like I can feel something right here in my head.
where it's hitting the centers of your brain that need it the most in order for it to then move through your whole
Well, and apparently
body.
jasmine's not actually an essential oil. It's an absolute. So it's made a little bit differently.
It is, that's true. And how many tons of flowers does it take to make a single...
It's enormous.
Yeah.
That's why it's such an expensive oil. That one in rose, that's another one that is quite quality.
Yeah.
Oh, I was at the Young Living Convention, and one of the speakers was saying that this is the oil this is like pretty much the oil he purchases and carries it in his pocket, and he maintains that it changes your energy. Mm-hmm. And so just keeping it in your pocket, you don't even have to smell it. Just keeping the energy of the oil close to your body can shift the way you're feeling.
Yeah, and there's a lot of research being done on these oils and the vibrational level of these oils and how that impacts our own vibrational system in our own body to be able to bring that vibration up to its optimum levels.
Absolutely.
By working with some of these very high vibrational oils, like rose is one of the highest vibrational oils.
Apparently.
And Northern Lights Black Spruce is another really high one.
It is.
Yeah.
It's not a floral though.
No, but that'll be the next episode.
Yes, okay.
Yes, when we look at trauma.
And lavender, that's like the ubiquitous floral oil, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So Young Living's lavender is quite different from other companies.
They have a whole story about that
yes,
lavender,
they do,
which we'll talk about at some point.
They don't grow their lavender the same way. They have a population crop, they call it, instead of cloned.
That's
so each plant is different.
It comes from a seed.
It comes from a seed.
They talk about it actually in this book.
Oh, yes,
Mary,
and they
Young
hand sort the seeds. They don't use machines.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful when you think about it. Where did our little bud go? We had a little bud
here.
of jasmine.
Under your knee.
Under my knee. Oh no! Come here, you.
Oh, now it will really smell jasmine.
Come here. It hasn't quite opened yet, but I think what will happen when we put it in the water is that it will open over the course of as we're chatting, and then we can show people. So this is from my jasmine plant downstairs in the kitchen, and it puts out these beautiful flowers.
I've smelled it.
I know, it's amazing,
amazing,
right?
yeah.
So the whole kitchen smells like jasmine, and then I'll take a flower, asking permission from the plant first. I'll take the flower, and then I'll put it into my glass of water or my jug of water and sip it throughout the day, and the whole glass of water or the whole bottle of water gets infused with the jasmine oil.
What a great idea.
That comes here naturally from the flower.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
You know, if jasmine, some people, they love the jasmine, but I have these little atomizers that I use, and I put 1 drop of jasmine in and fill the rest with water and just shake and just mist.
Yeah.
And I love it. And another way to get jasmine is highest potential, because they use jasmine in highest potential. You can really smell the jasmine.
Yeah, you really can. This reminds me of Hawaii, because just shortly after I got my bottle of highest potential, I went to Hawaii.
That's right.
For a retreat, business retreat, and not only was there jasmine all over the place, but I had my highest potential, and so I was using it, and my roommates were using it, and we were strutting around in our highest potential.
That's great. That's fun.
So now whenever I smell it, I'm back on the Big Island. But that's the power of smell, isn't it?
I know, it stays with you.
Yeah, and let's talk about that for a moment as we're connecting with grief. The smells are so powerful as healing elements in our lives. They can also trigger traumatic responses too, depending on what the association is that we have to a particular scent as it relates to a person in our lives.
Make you happy, sad, scared.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, the center for smell is in the primitive brain, so that area where you feel your emotions immediately.
That's right. That's right. So something like rose, a really beautiful pure rose like the one that Young Living has, is going to invoke a certain feeling in us. If we grew up, for example, with, say, a person in our household, a grandmother or an auntie, who wore a very thick, cloying kind of rose smell, and maybe wasn't the kindest person to us, when we first start working with rose, those memories are going to get triggered.
Oh, we're
going to trigger into those memories. That's right. And then you can use that rose oil to help with the release of that association.
Cool.
Yeah. So rose, can we talk about rose first?
Sure.
Because this is such a powerful, beautiful flower. We have an enormous association with rose around love. There's a whole flower language that looks at the different colors of roses and what it means when you hand somebody a yellow rose versus a pink rose versus a red rose. And we associate red roses with love. So it makes sense then that when that love is lost through whatever means it's lost through, working with rose can be something that is going to really help support us move through that deep, deep grief. It isn't going to take the grief away. The grief is part of the process. And it's something that's always there, I believe. When my mother died 20 odd years ago, a very kind-hearted person said to me, "It's okay, you'll get over it." And I said, "No, I won't, because that's not the point. The point is to find out how to live with the loss.
Right. That's
Not
a nice way to
get over
phrase that, Naturally.
the loss, because the loss is the loss. I miss my mother every day, and it's been 20 years. I miss my father every day now. That doesn't go away, and it shouldn't, because there's nothing negative or harmful to our systems about being in a healthy grief for someone, in acknowledging that we have that sadness around the fact that they're not a part of our lives anymore. But when we fall into it, and we can't think straight, and everything's foggy, and we can't move, our whole body shuts down because the grief is so great. What can we do to help?
Any kind of
with that
sense of
movement?
smell, even food that smells good. You know, like you put the jasmine flower in your water. That is going to be a sensory reminder that you're still alive.
That's right. That's right. And maybe that's the fundamental one, right? So I wanted to talk about rose too, because that's what's in Heartpool. So I have an entire line of nature essences that I've created over time. And they are a combination of waters charged in various ways, and then these blends of aromatherapy. And Heartpool is all about fully opening to experience. And that was how I was intuitively working with rose. And then when I started to learn about rose in more detail, I realized how perfect that connection was for totally opening to experience and deep grief healing.
Well, that you
and then
used,
working with that
there was
rose.
The base, the mother that you call it, for making your oils. That one came, I remember, from a beach where there was a heart-shaped pool.
That's right. That's right. Heart-shaped tidal pool up at Botanical Beach that you can only see when the tide recedes. So there's symbolism to that as well, because often our grief gets buried. It gets hidden. We don't show it. It's not appropriate, quote unquote, in certain circumstances.
When you're at work, you don't want to be grieving constantly.
No, you don't. or you've got to be, you've decided you have to be stoic and strong and brave, and so you push it down. It's still there. Once you're ready to fully experience it, and you work with something like rose, and you allow that grief to move through you, then you can really heal. That's right.
And there are times when, yes, you have the grief, but there's so much that you need to do, or there's life needs to happen.
Right.
So you actually can't deal with your grief.
That's
like sometimes when a parent has something happen, maybe they lose a child or a baby in childbirth or something, but they have other children. So you can't really fully grieve while you are taking care of your children and your family, and that kind of thing.
So in those private moments when you do get a chance to grieve, working with something as powerful and potent as the rose at the emotional level allows you to have that, I would say, like a gentle release of the grief. Allows it to move through you.
So what's the difference between a really amazing rose oil and one that maybe you get at the store for $20?
Well, Susan, let me tell you.
Because I feel the difference, but
and let me tell our audience
what you would say.
Yes, there is a big difference. We know that this rose oil was distilled, processed in a very authentic, what's the right word I'm looking for? Like pure establishment, right? We know that this is a pure oil. There is no adulteration to this oil
and wherever
at all.
they're purchasing it, the people have been paid properly.
That's right. There's a whole vibrational chain of
yes.
goodness that happens with this particular rose oil. When you go into the grocery store and you buy a little thing of rose oil for $12 or $24,
there's no way that
is not pure.
The farmer was not paid.
No,
properly.
And it's not a pure rose oil. And if you look at the bottle, it'll probably say 5% absolute rose or 10% absolute rose, and then the rest will be a carrier
1%.
oil. 1%.
Yeah.
The rest will be a carrier oil.
And other things.
And other things as well.
Preservatives and weird things.
That's right. So when you think of that, it's the difference between using vinegar to wash your windows and Windex to wash your windows. Vinegar is just vinegar. You know what's in it. The Windex, personally I love Windex, but I recognize that the reason it cleans so well might be because...
You don't want to be trapped in a shower with just the Windex.
You really don't. So it's similar with the rose, right? This rose, we know, is 100% pure. It comes from rose petals. That's it. That's all that's in there. It's simple. The rose that you're getting at the grocery store or the health food store or through Amazon, it's not. It's just not. And so because of that, it's not going to have the same impact and effect on you, on your heart systems, on your central nervous system,
It'll
in your
stress
brain
your
chemistry. And that'll just make it worse.
Okay.
So we've established that rose is really expensive. Let's talk about some of the ones that are
like lavender,
more accessible.
That's an everyday oil, really. We get it in our starter kit, and it's used for so many things, and very helpful for sleeping and for resting and for recuperating from things. Helpful when you have injuries on your skin. It's a great skin oil.
Yeah.
And yeah, for some people it can help you through sadness.
Yeah. Yeah. That deep grief.
And
Absolutely.
clary sage.
Love clary sage.
So.
Oh, clary sage. Smells amazing. First of all.
And it's really, I think of it as a real feminine oil. Because it's used so much for balancing
That's right.
hormonal issues.
Yeah, and in plant medicine, it is used also for helping with menstruation, with fertility, with menopause. So when we go into grief, we usually go into shock as well. If it's a deep grief, there's a shock that's involved in that. That impacts our hormones. It's a word I've always had trouble saying. And so we're working with something like the clary sage and the lavender together with a little drop of jasmine and a little drop of rose, creates this beautiful blend that helps support and strengthen our whole system.
Your
Central
energy,
nervous system, our energy systems, our
heart
hormone
system.
systems, heart systems.
Like a system of, when I mean heart system, I mean like the feeling around your heart.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So it creates this
Geranium.
beautiful experience. This is another hormone balancing oil. Yeah, this is a really beautiful one.
And ylang ylang too.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that these are the female oils. Right, often
Are
used
we
for.
making something today?
We are. That's what I was just about to say.
Okay.
We should make something
Because
with all these.
we've got cistus, rock rose, neroli, which is like orange, German chamomile, Roman chamomile, and helichrysum.
Yes, and what we'll
blue
say
tansy.
too.
That's kind of with the daisy family.
Yes, that's right. So there's a lot of flower oils here, and we brought out a lot of blends too that we haven't gotten to yet. But there's this amazing book, this amazing resource that you could be working with. This is where we get most of our information from. It's so handy. It's so well written and
it's one of the
thoroughly
places I get
researched.
information.
One of the places,
I love
yeah.
it's quick for the oils from there, but sometimes when you really want to, like, I love this book now that I'm reading it again. If you're working with emotions, this is a fabulous book because it's written more about Chinese medicine, like the 5 elements, and where your emotions are affecting your organs of your body. And we won't get this quite the same way here. I mean, it does talk about it, but that's more of a,
Yeah, so we'll make sure that we list links to
And
the
what are you
resources.
making?
So let's make something. Let's
Okay.
put together a couple of oils that we feel would be very supportive of our hearts for when our hearts are broken.
Okay. Well, I think you mentioned some, like rose,
Okay.
jasmine. Was it geranium and ylang ylang? Or was it clary sage and geranium?
Sure.
I can't remember. We do have it on video, but okay.
Well, go with your intuition. And I would say with this, 1 drop each is usually when I'm working with emotional
they're
oils.
pretty
Yeah.
powerful.
So,
And they come out quickly. The flower oils are very,
except for jasmine.
except for jasmine. Oh, okay.
It's
It
a
makes
little
things
thicker.
yellow too. It can stain things.
It's a little bit thicker.
I sure love it.
There we go.
Ooh,
Okay.
it is thicker.
And there's clary sage.
Ylang?
Yeah, let's do ylang.
1 of each.
Yeah. And then let's pick 1 more to add to that.
Well, should we try rose
Sure.
or neroli?
Well, we've talked a lot about rose. Why don't we try neroli?
Yeah, let's try neroli.
So neroli is orange blossoms.
That makes you happy. Just it's almost a bitter smell. Neroli.
Okay. Oh, that's very gentle. Oops. Oop, 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 oop. Come back here. Okay, so then we push that back in. I chose purple on purpose. This is, for me, it's such a healing color.
Yeah.
All right, have a sniffle. So if you have a broken heart, or you know someone who has a broken heart, and you've got these beautiful oils, what an amazing gift to give to yourself or to your friend or your loved one. This lovely supportive blend.
It's really subtle, actually.
It's beautiful.
It's really beautiful.
I like it. Wow. Fabulous.
I feel good.
Excellent. I feel
My
good
heart
too.
feels happy.
Mine too.
In fact, there is a native a phrase or a question that apparently they ask instead of saying, "Hey, how are you?" or like not "How are you?" but or "Good morning." It would be, "How is your heart today?"
Beautiful.
A different way to greet people in your home.
Yes.
How is your heart today? What is?
My heart feels full today. And one of the first times since my father passed away that I've been able to speak about him without crying.
Oh.
Well, except for right now.
Except for right now.
Quick. Put it on my heart.
Put it everywhere.
Put it everywhere. Although I do fully and truly believe that it is absolutely necessary for us to cry when we need to.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you, Susan. That was really lovely.
That was. And remember to subscribe below.
You'll fill our hearts
With happiness.
with happiness
And joy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Megan.
Okay.
Bye.
And scene.
Okay.
A nice
Awesome.
gentle scene.